All right, moving on to Cavs-Hawks. This was an interesting game because both teams are completely realigned, right? The Cavs, now it was a little bit more than usual because Jarrett Allen didn't play in this game. So they basically slid Evan Mobley down to the 5, brought Max Strus into the starting lineup with Karis LeVert, right? So it was LeVert, Strus, Garland, and Mitchell. So legit 4-out spacing, 4-out 1-in spacing, which is something that they don't typically play with. That is only temporary, of course, because Jarrett Allen will be back, but we got to see what it looked like organizationally in this game. And then the Hawks, without John Collins, they're going with 2 wings between their guards and Clint Capella. In this case, Saddiq Bey and Jalen Johnson. Obviously, that'll be DeAndre Hunter when he's healthy. But I thought Jalen Johnson played well because he's just such a good athlete, right? Let's start with the Cavs, though. On the Cavs front, the difference in shooting just completely changes the flow of their offense because these guys, they're not just shooters, they're gunners, right? Like Strus on the first possession, right wing, like above the break, 25 feet from the basket, just confidently rises up and knocks a shot down. Takes another one a possession later that's kind of contested from the side, right? Like even when he's not shooting the ball, guys are chasing him off the line like he's a great shooter. There was a catch and shoot 3 that Donovan Mitchell took on the right wing because of a kick out to Max Strus in the corner, where before they're not even making that rotation and they're just daring Lamar Stevens or even Chetty Osman or Isaac Okoro. They're daring those guys to shoot those shots. And instead they had to rotate to Max Strus, extra pass up to the top of the key to Donovan Mitchell, wide open catch and shoot 3 that he makes. You're going to see a lot more of that, strictly from the standpoint of the types of shots that those dudes take and how aggressive they are and the way teams chase them off the line. Strus made his first one and missed a bunch of good looks after that. But over the course of the season, he's going to be guarded like he's a threat out there, and he's going to have a lot of games where he's hitting those. And then Georges Niang came out firing too. His first 3 literally was a transition 3. Trae Young kind of gambles on a kick-ahead pass on the right wing, and he gets past Trae Young and notices he's got some space in transition and just rises and fires off the dribble from like 25 feet and sticks it, right? Like, and that's the difference. It's not just about having guys that can make shots. You brought in shooters. Like Georges Niang, there was a play where I think it was, if I remember correctly, Karis LeVert's running a pick and roll on the right side of the floor, and Niang's on the left side of the floor. And Saddiq Bey's in your typical dig down position, right? So he's kind of like at the right elbow. And Niang sees Saddiq turn his head, kind of like committing to the play, because Sadiq's thinking, I can rotate back out. If I see this pass, I can turn and rotate. Niang, because he's a shooter, and he's been doing this forever, and he knows how to do things like relocate. He sees Saddiq turn his head, and he runs over to the right wing, kind of like the right block extended up to the top of the key, right? So like between the top of the key and the right wing on the right side. And he runs over there. Saddiq gets caught off guard, and now he's way out of position to rotate. LeVert makes the pass. Niang knocks down the 3. This is like another level to what you're going to see in terms of ball movement and the ball popping around, because rotations have to be made now, because these are legitimate shooters, not just guys that are capable of knocking down shots. I thought it completely changed the flow of the Cavs offense. And the only reason they struggled as much as they did in this game, because, I mean, the Hawks starters kind of beat up the Cavs in this game, was Darius Garland just had a really rough game. He just couldn't make his jump shot, and he wasn't making his like floater and push shot around the basket. Garland just had a rough night, and that kind of threw off their offense overall. But again, like when Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell are cooking and they're in rhythm, having that shooting around them is going to add another element to this offense. Now, again, that's only one part of the equation, that too big orientation. And I talked a lot in the season preview for the Cavs about the issues that the Cavs had with Evan Mobley rolling downhill. Like, Evan Mobley short rolled the entire Knicks series. Did not make a single shot in the short roll all series. And he attempted plenty of them. He got kind of exposed as having trouble with scoring in that mid-range with Mitchell Robinson waiting there, right? So, like, there's 2 elements to the Cavs spacing issues. It's not just the shooting. They addressed that. It's also Evan Mobley in the short roll. And, I mean, one of the ways to alleviate that is to run 5 out more, and I expect them to stagger each other more this season to try to give themselves some more space to work with, if for no other reason than to prepare for the postseason on that sense. They got some good production out of Ty Jerome and Emon Bates. Emon Bates in particular, I want to shout out. Like, I was particularly wondering after what I saw in Summer League and what I saw in college from him, like a lot of off-the-dribble jump shots. And I was like, okay, he's an inefficient-ish off-the-dribble shooter what's it going to be like when when he has to play off the ball alongside other NBA players, and it doesn't make sense for him to take a 6-dribble pull-up jump shot anymore. And I thought he looked just fine. I mean, he made 4 shots, right, last night, and all 4 of them, except for the final one, because he made the shot that was the go-ahead shot before Trent Forrest won the game with that driving and one right before the buzzer. But Emon Bates hit like a nice step-back 3 that ended up being basically what could have been a game winner had they gotten a stop. And that was really the only shot he made that was like an aggressive off-the-dribble shot. He was playing off the ball. His first bucket, his first 3, he caught the ball in the left wing, and instead of looking to force the action, he reversed it. And then they ran action. I think LeVert ran action. And then the ball made it back over to Emon Bates on the left wing, wide open, catch and shoot 3, knocks it down. His release is really quick and high too, which kind of makes it so that even when the rotations come, he gets a decent look. His second 3 was a transition 3, like sprinting up the right side of the floor, getting his feet set in the right corner, calling for the ball, and confidently knocking it down. And then the final basket, or the basket before his step back, was that cut out of the weak side corner. They were running action on the left side of the floor. They defended 3-on-2. Emon identifies it and cuts out of the weak side corner. Again, like, you want to be able to take threes, but a 3 is easier to rotate to. When they're really aggressive in their pick and roll coverage and they vacate that short corner, if you're an athlete like him and you cut hard, you can get dunks out of that spot. That's where Andrew Wiggins gets dunks for the Warriors. That's where Gary Payton gets dunks for the Warriors, right? And Emon did a really nice job getting his head of steam, catching off the cut, and going up and under and finishing on the other side of the basket. And that's the kind of thing is like when you combine his scoring chops with the ability to play a functional role off the ball, then you unleash the scoring chops in rescue possessions, or hell, when it's a preseason game and you have the ball in your hands and you can look to be aggressive, right? But then you can fight for minutes in the normal rotation by demonstrating your ability to play without the basketball. On the Hawks front, both Trae Young and Deonte Murray were off for the most part. They were 4 for 15 from the field. But I liked the overall alignment without John Collins. They're just really athletic when you go with a bunch of these like straight line forwards, right? Like the thing is with John Collins is he was a freak athlete, but he was one of the worst spot-up players in the league and was not a guy who could play drive-and-kick basketball. He was very much more of like functionally a big man. Like I know that's not what John Collins would say, but like they really kind of were structured as a 2-big lineup. And, you know, by bringing in that additional athleticism. And again, like guys like some guys are good shooters, right? Like DeAndre Hunter is only okay as a shooter. He was kind of an average spot-up player last year. Jalen Johnson, it remains to be seen. But guys like AJ Griffin and Saddiq Bey were good spot-up players last year. And that extends beyond catching and shooting. It's also attacking closeouts. And you saw a lot of that in this game. You'd see DeJounte Murray run action, get cut off, toss the ball to Saddiq Bey with 7 seconds on the shot clock and having a little bit of an advantage, and he would just like rip through and try to be aggressive with his size advantage. He had a play where he kind of bullied Max Strus to the basket for a layup. He had another power finish on the right side of the floor where he attacked and kind of hung in midair and finished. Like he has legitimately real athletic tools. AJ Griffin was beating people off the dribble and making floaters, right? He even had a play where he attacked Darius Garland where got downhill attacking a closeout and took a long step in that left arm to kind of push off before he took that second long step and hit that floater off the glass. That's downhill athleticism, which in a drive and kick system functions as shooting. Like that can do the same thing. This is a Hawks team last year that was horrific in their spot-up play. It was a big part of why their offense was only pretty good when it should have been so much better with the way that they were organized and with what Trae Young and DeJounte Murray can do. When you have now AJ Griffin attacking, Saddiq Bey attacking, DeAndre Hunter attacking, Jalen Johnson attacking, it kind of has a 4-out, 1-in feel that's harder to guard in pick and roll and harder to guard in closeout situations. And all that athleticism also helped them kick their ass on the glass. They had 10 offensive rebounds, out-rebounded them by 10. I said in my season preview that I expect the Hawks to go up a level and actually be better this year than they have been in the last couple of years. And a big part of that, in my opinion, is just them reorienting in a way that makes the most sense in the modern NBA. It was a difficult trade to make, obviously, with John Collins being a guy you invested in the draft. But I thought it was the right move. Kobe Buffkin is a combo guard they drafted in the first round out of Michigan. I was really impressed by him. He hit 3 jump shots, including a nice little pull-up jump shot in pick and roll. Made some nice reads in pick and roll. He made that skip pass. Remember, I always talk about the skip pass in pick and roll as like one of the most important identifiers of a player's ability to read the floor. Because seeing the pocket pass is pretty easy because you're watching that screen defender right in front of you. but seeing the help defender come out of the weak side corner and give you an opportunity to make the skip pass and misleading the defense enough to not telegraph it and to get it there on time on target is a difficult thing to do. And Kobe Buffkin made a skip pass, a really nice one to AJ Griffin in the right corner. He ended up actually missing the three. And then the big trait that everyone was excited about with Kobe coming out of college was he was one of the best rim finishing guards in the country. Like unprecedented good for a guard like him. And there was a play in the early third quarter, a pick and roll. He got downhill to his left hand, and Damian Jones was lined up with him, and he committed to it. And like they both basically were just like, all right, let's meet at the rim and see what happens. And Kobe literally just went with this like soft, he elevated super high, but just went with this soft left-handed finish, like way off the top of the square that went in. And I was like, oh, well, there you go. There's the Kobe Buffkin we all saw in college that couldn't miss a layup if he tried. But I thought both teams in a weird way, even though the Hawks won, and it obviously was an exciting game at the end, even though the Hawks kind of won the starters minutes, I thought both teams kind of showed some potential of what their reorientations could do to help their teams this season. All right, let's move on to the mailbag. First question from Langston. I love the Lakers coverage because I want to see LeBron win. Would you have covered the Lakers as much if LeBron was on another team? And which team do you think LeBron would be a great fit on besides the Lakers? Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. The Lakers are the biggest fan base in the NBA, other than maybe the Warriors. So, and I would argue globally the Lakers are a bigger fan base. So even when LeBron retires, we're always going to cover the Lakers. The only difference will be is I won't really have much of a rooting interest in the NBA anymore. I'll have players that I like and teams that I like and players that I dislike and teams that I dislike, but not in any sort of like truly profound way. Again, like my relationship as a fan with LeBron is based on my childhood. Like I grew, like he got me to fall in love with the game when I was a kid. So like with LeBron, it's a little bit more complicated in that I almost have like a sentimental attachment to rooting for him to win championships and stuff. But when he retires, that will go away. But the Lakers and the Warriors and the Celtics and the Knicks and the Sixers and all the big market teams are always going to be teams that we cover heavily. And again, like I always say, for you guys that are wondering, we are like deliberately going to do more breakout clips this year to make it easier for you guys to access our non-Lakers Warriors content. So like, again, we do 5-6 shows a week. During the postseason, we do 7, 8, 9 shows a week. So like we are obviously going to cover almost every Lakers game and almost every Warriors game and almost every Celtics game. And like, but we're also going to cover, 20 teams this year pretty closely. And you have to kind of like look, because a lot of times I'll have a 40-minute video and the thumbnail and the description will be Lakers or something like that. But like I only talk about them for 15 minutes and then the rest of the show we're hitting the rest of the league. So like we are covering the whole league. It's just going to be, marketed in a way that's going to be easier for us to monetize. It's not too hard to understand why we do that. But we're going to do breakout clips more often now. So like if we break down, this game, like Cavs-Hawks, like this video is probably going to be marketed around Paolo and Zion, but like we're going to just release a second video that has that game, the Hawks-Cavs, so that Hawks fans and Cavs fans can find that stuff more easily. One of my goals for this year, one of our goals as a team here, the Hoops Tonight team, is like we want to make sure that like it's really easy for you guys to see the coverage that you want to see, especially when I'm doing 6-7 hours a week in content.